Israel ramping up attacks against Hezbollah in Lebanon over the last 24 hours with a series of strikes as military operations expand. One of the latest casualties is the Hezbollah leader, Nasrallah. He was killed in a targeted airstrike on Hezbollah headquarters in Beirut. The attack was carried out without U.S. knowledge. That's according to the Pentagon. So here to discuss is former advisor to the office of Benjamin Netanyahu, senior contributing editor at the Jewish News Syndicate, Ruthie Blum, and also with us a distinguished university professor and Middle East expert at Touro University and the author of Saving Free Speech from Itself, Thane Rosenbaum. All right, so Ruthie, let me start with you. Israel has been ramping up attacks on Hezbollah recently. They took out their command structure basically piece by piece. What are the geopolitical ramifications of taking out Nasrallah? And Hezbollah is vowing revenge, so I think we're going to see some retaliation from them soon. Where, we don't know.
Well, first of all, we've weakened them so much that I don't know what kind of retaliation they can launch. They've been firing missiles at Israel pretty much all day, but you know, the point is that's flexing their muscles. The geopolitical significance really goes back to Iran. Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy, as is Hamas, as are the Houthis in Yemen. And by the way, the Houthis launched a rocket or a ballistic missile at Tel Aviv today again, as it did a couple of days ago. And, you know, in my opinion, the fact that the Houthis here and there are firing again just proves that Hezbollah is weakened. I mean, and Iran is basically nervous here because Hezbollah is Iran's army to protect its nuclear sites. And we also heard that the Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader, has now been moved to a safer location. And well, he should be, because in my opinion, he should definitely be next on our hit list.
So, Thane, you know, you got the Secretary of State Blinken. He's calling for Israel to be diplomatic, yet they're dealing with terror groups like Hezbollah and Hamas who want to wipe them off the earth. Are we really expecting a terror group like them to negotiate peacefully here?
Well, you know, as you know, Rob, from the very first day after October 7th, and by the way, I totally agree with Ruthie, as I usually do, but she's quite right. I don't know what's left of Hezbollah. The entire command structure, half of their missile arsenal, it's all destroyed. So if I were them, I would book a flight somewhere out of Beirut because there's none around. As with respect to Anthony Blinken, you know, we've misread all the signals. You know, we are just constantly placating and being conciliatory gestures toward Iran, and we're not acting as if we're recognizing that Israel's facing an asymmetric warfare against terrorist organizations that play according to none of the laws of warfare and the rules of engagement. So that's probably, Rob, one of the reasons why Israel didn't consult the United States when they did this. You know why? They assumed the United States would say, don't. It'll upset the clerics of Iran, the mullahs and the Ayatollah. We don't want to upset them. Meanwhile, again, I agree with Ruthie. I think everyone's worried. If I was the Ayatollah, I would be on the next plane through. Remember, Israel killed Haniya, Hamas's leader, in a safe house in Tehran. You know what message that is, Rob?
Yeah.
You're not safe in Tehran, no matter who you are. Israel is coming to get you. And now, thankfully, the Israelis are ignoring the United States, and perhaps because of the election, perhaps because there's less activity on campus, perhaps because we're focused always on Palestinians, and Hezbollah is not Palestinian. They're Shiite Muslims, and so maybe the world doesn't seem to care as much as they do about Palestinians. The Israelis are fully unleashed.
That's why I think, you know, Donald Trump holds up a picture of their house and says, I kind of know where you live. Here's Israeli PM Netanyahu at the UN yesterday, and, you know, horribly, I don't know how many nations walked out, which is disgraceful. But he had some harsh words for Iran and Israel's enemies. Listen up.
I have a message for the tyrants of Tehran. If you strike us, we will strike you. There is no place in Iran that the long arm of Israel cannot reach. And that's true of the entire Middle East.
So, Ruthie, we know the UN is overwhelmingly anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, but did Netanyahu prove his point here that they're not backing down from Iran and its proxies?
Oh, absolutely. But I think it's really interesting because in retrospect, it makes it even all the more significant that he said that, because while he was talking, he knew what was about to happen. Okay, if this hadn't happened, what you could say is, well, it's pretty boilerplate. He has always warned Iran. He's always warned the UN and Congress that Iran is the greatest threat. But now, in retrospect, we can see what he actually meant, that it was literal, not just figurative. And it sent a very powerful message. And by the way, I also always agree with Thane. I would like to return the compliment to him. And I also just would like to add one thing. Everybody in the world who is a victim of Iran has been celebrating this assassination. Arabs across the Arab world, Sunnis are celebrating, Druze are celebrating, Christians, of course, are celebrating. And we should just note who's not celebrating. Among them, the Palestinian Authority, not just Hamas. It's very crucial to pay attention. We have to keep our eye on the ball, on the good guys and the bad guys. And it's about time that Antony Blinken stopped talking about diplomacy and started talking about victory over the enemies of the West.
Well, good news, he'll be gone in a few months. But let me ask you this, Thane. Secret ballot of world leaders, who do you think that they're actually rooting for to win the presidency based on what's going on in the Middle East and how explosive it could be? Do you think they want Trump or do you think they want Harris?
Well, you know, Rob, it's an interesting question. If you're in the Persian Gulf nations, the Abraham Accords, you're rooting for Trump. Because no matter what they say about Israel, they want Iran gone. And they know that Iran will have another example of 4 years of the State Department under Harris. You know, everyone learned from Obama, always be nice to the mullahs. So I think Western Europeans are different because, remember, in some of the countries, they've elected hard left candidates. And hard left candidates are not interested in Donald Trump. Obviously, Hungary and Poland their leaders would support Trump. But I'm not sure about France, England, or even Germany. I'm not actually sure about those countries. I think they might be supporting Harris.
And that's disgraceful, you know, because it used to be NATO would stick together, especially on something like this. It was black and white, clear cut. But let me just say this to Ruthie and Thane. I am also in the Mutual Admiration Society, so the three of us make a wonderful group there. Ruthie, Thane, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much.